feeling good inside.
I'm off to the Isle of Sheppey in Kent, an area which has been rejuvenated by the building of this new bridge. It allows the island's 35,000 inhabitants easy access to the mainland and means that the properties there are even more desirable now.
Today I've come to see the Lodge House. Now usually when you look at lodge houses, they're in a park or they're at the entrance to a beautiful private estate. But this one is different. This lodge house used to belong to the cemetery, which is right next door.
OK, having a cemetery next door is not on everybody's wish list. But this property's prospects might not be as grave as first thought. The house used to belong to the sexton who looked after the cemetery, and it went to auction with a guide price of between £280,000 and £290,000.
Now this house was constructed in the 60s and it really is typical of that era. There's no coving anywhere and you get these very flat-fronted, thin, flimsy plywood doors. It's quite strange coming into a room like this because you don't get the features of a Georgian or an Edwardian house. I mean, look at this old fireplace. But what you do get is lovely big square rooms and a sense of space.
Like a 60-year-old wearing a hoodie, this property is starting to show its age. In the hallway, there's a ranch-style staircase. Meanwhile, the kitchen just reeks of Formica. There's even a fluorescent tube to keep it in period. The utilitarian downstairs toilet is also in sympathy with the 60s vibe. But there are a few pluses. A fair-sized garden for one, complete with its own palm tree.
So upstairs we've got 3 bedrooms and a bathroom. Here's the bathroom suite. Quite strange, the door only opens to there. I think it needs a bit of a layout change. Bedroom through here, but look at that. Now that's quite strange because it goes right the way through to the other side of the wall and across the bedroom ceiling. I'm just wondering if there's any more structural damage in here.
While I'm looking around, it's worth pointing out that the 3 bedrooms are well proportioned. The house is double glazed throughout, and if I was an estate agent, I might be tempted to say the windows look out on open green areas with trees. Well, they do, but there are a few tombstones as well.
Look what I've just found, one whopping crack. Now, I think a structural engineer or a surveyor has already been here. You can tell by these 2 little studs in the wall. They've obviously measured the movement of the house. I would want to track down that person and read the report before I bid for this at auction.
Even though the house might be suffering from subsidence, there is one reason why it still has the potential to make a cracking investment. But to find out what it is, we're going to have to spend a penny.
Next door to the property are these 2 outside toilets, which were being used by the cemetery. Now, all of this is going to come down because the current owner has outline planning permission to build 2 semi-detached houses here.
That doesn't mean that all the hard work will have been done for you. The new owner will have to employ an architect and submit detailed plans to the local authority. But the area of land where the toilets are is quite substantial, and since the original house has some original cracks, maybe that too should be knocked down. I've invited a local estate agent to see if we can look into this some more.
There's not a lot of potential in this house as it stands, but to demolish the extension and demolish this house and put new housing in, an average semi here, I think, with garaging would probably fetch between 185 and 190,000. I think this plot has got massive potential, and I think there's a lot of money to be made in this plot.
Is she right? Let's see what happened at the auction.
Guide price is 280, 290. Give you all a chance. £250,000. Start me. £250,000 I'm bid, and I should think so too. At £250,000 I'm bid, 255 do I see. At £250,000 then I'm amazed. I thought this would make a lot more than this. I am selling then to the maiden bid at £250,000, 255 for anyone else. At £250,000 then, the maiden bid, I shan't dwell for the first time at 250, for the second time at 250, for the third and final time at £250,000. Are you all done? Sold at 250,000. And your bidder's number, sir? Thank you very much. 1866.
Sold to the distinguished-looking gentleman in the front. As the sole bidder, Michael has picked up the house and some valuable building land for the knockdown price of £250,000. Michael's a property developer with over 40 years' experience. He works with his son, Matthew, and they specialise in new builds. Matthew has been in partnership with his dad for the last 7 years, and it looks like he's a chip off the old block. The first thing they check for are cracks in the walls.
No, it's got about 5 mil.
That's quite a
lot of underpinning.
Well, it wouldn't be underpinned now. I think definitely all the brickwork has to come out and be repinned. All of the house comes down. Well,
It's looking like subsidence, which is very expensive to repair. Let's find out what they think of their purchase so far.
Guys, congratulations. Michael, that was one of the quickest auctions I've ever seen. I blinked and I'd missed it.
absolutely.
What happened?
Well, I sat there and nobody made a bid, so I said, well, and he said, well, start me at 250,000. And so I went, nobody said anything, so I said yes, and I'm waiting. I'm so surprised. Then the guy said, well, I've never had a maiden bid before, you know, and it went on, and he suddenly went bang, and it was mine. And I was so startled, I couldn't even think to put my number up to tell who'd bought it.
Michael's cool might have left him for once, but he really is a very experienced developer who has built over 300 houses.
Because the cross wall makes it easy for us.
Recently, Michael has started to take a more hands-off approach, and his 40-year-old son, Matthew, now supervises all their building sites.
Matthew, why have you followed in your father's footsteps?
I was actually going to do some party organising. That was when I was about 17, and I was organising things and dashing around. And he said, no, don't do that. He said, come into building, and it's a much better thing being a developer. And I don't think I've ever really looked back.
So what happens on a day-to-day basis with you two?
Well, we have our own building company, and Matthew has a great depth of technical knowledge, which I don't lay claim to. So Matthew gets the subcontractors on, he agrees the prices with them, then he tells me how much it's going to cost, then I budget it.
Yeah, then he tells me what I can do it for, and I tell him that this is what we're going to do it for, and he says, no, I don't like that, and so we'll cut this out and we'll do that.
Then we finish the development, put it on the market, and they lock me up because I upset everybody.
Oh, yes, that's true.
So quite often do you just have to turn your dad round and march him off?
Yes, especially with purchasers, people who are buying stuff, because he just says, do you like the house or not?
Well,
And it doesn't really work that way. You have to be rather nice. You want to be nice to people. And I don't allow him very often on site because he does stump around and does not upset people. He likes things done his way, and that's not to everybody's taste.
So Dad Michael might be the Victor Meldrew of the building trade, but he usually has a very good nose for property investment.